Page 19 of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, words of addition, incident of the latter, about the last section of the first paragraph here. The fire burned in the grate. A lamp was lighted on the chimney shelf, for even in the houses the fog began to lie thickly, and there, close up to the warmth, sat Dr. Jekyll, looking deadly sick. He did not rise to meet his visitor, but held out a cold hand and bade him welcome in a changed voice. So we realise later on, don't we, he actually obviously has killed Carew and is regretting being part of this whole action. In the bottom of the paragraph, Utterson, he says, "I swear to God," cried the doctor, "I swear to God I will never set eyes on him again. I'll bind my honour to you that I'm done with him in this world. It is all at an end, and indeed he does not want my help. You do not know him as I do. He is safe. He is quite safe. Mark my words, he will never more be heard of." It is a very strange reaction, isn't it, in many levels. Firstly, he is aware, perhaps, as Utterson has described, of the terrible things that Hyde has done on a kind of level of pretending not to be Hyde. But then saying he's safe. Why is he saying that? What reason? Why is he trying to reassure himself or reassure Utterson? It's a strange reaction, isn't it? Other than that, he is. I've said that he's like Jekyll's like the parent protecting the Hyde, and the spoilt child Hyde, isn't he? And he's like a parent who's had a child that's run amok and wants to protect them, and he says, he's safe. Think about why he repeats that word. Also, think about the kind of ways in which he seems to feel like he's still in control of a situation. Notice also in that first paragraph the contrast between this lovely house that Jekyll lives in and the house that Hyde, the place that Hyde stays in. Page 20 of this chapter, the incident of the letter. Well, I should consider, and now one word more, it was Hyde who dictated the terms in your will about that disappearance. The doctor seemed seized with a qualm of faintness. He shut his mouth tight and nodded. "I knew it," said Utterson. "He meant to murder you. You've had a fine escape." "I have had what is far more to the purpose," returned the doctor solemnly. "I've had a lesson. Oh God, Utterson, what a lesson I've had!" And he covered his face for a moment with his hands. So he's had a lesson. What lesson is this? And we'll read later on his side of the story, but it's almost like a lesson that he's been taught not to do it again because he might get caught. Is there a deep sense of guilt here about what Hyde has done? Also, let's look at the letter itself on page 20, that middle paragraph. The letter was written in odd upright hand and signed Edward Hyde, and it signified briefly enough that the writer's benefactor, Mr. Jekyll, whom he'd so unworthily repaid for 1,000 generosities, need labour under no alarm for his safety, as he had means of escape on which he had placed a sure dependence. The lawyer liked this letter well enough. It put a better colour on the intimacy than he had looked for, and he blames himself for his past suspicions. So the letter seems to absolve Jekyll of blame and suggests that Hyde is just going to disappear. The last section of this chapter, page 22, is worth looking at. So the letter sort of puts Utterson at his ease, but then things change in the very last section when a clerk looks at the letter and says, "Well, sir," returned the clerk, "there's a rather singular resemblance. The two hands are in many points identical, only differently sloped." "Rather quaint," said Utterson. "It is, as you may say, rather quaint," returned the guest. "I wouldn't speak of this note, you know," said the master. "No, sir," said the clerk, "I understand." But no sooner was Utterson alone that night than he locked the note into his safe, where it reposed from that time forward. "What?" he thought. "Henry Jekyll forged for a murderer?" And his blood ran cold in his veins. So we now have this story where we realise Utterson realises the letter was not genuine. It was forged. It was written by Jekyll to cover Hyde's tracks. So Hyde and Jekyll are clearly very, very closely linked and possibly in cahoots or complicit with each other. When you're complicit, you've got a kind of nasty secret that ties you together.